Well, could it be the case that no matter what our story is, no matter where we find ourselves or what our struggles may be, that there always is hope, that God can meet us in the middle of our mess and bring healing as he points us towards his son, Jesus. Today, we're going to talk about how that's come true in the life of one of our dear brothers here at our Celebrate Recovery. Can't wait to have this conversation with you.
Recovery can be hard, but it's worth it. There is hope knowing we can find healing one step at a time with Jesus and healthy community. Whether you're struggling with a hurt or a hang-up or a habit, you're not alone. During this podcast, we share real stories, practical tools, and powerful truths that inspire you to keep moving forward. No matter where you are on your journey, there's hope ahead. So stick with us as we walk this path together through Celebrate Recovery.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Hope in Recovery, a Fellowship Celebrate Recovery podcast where we share recovery conversations, encouraging conversations to move us down our road to recovery, life change stories to point us towards the healing and hope of Jesus as we walk this journey of recovery towards a healthier and freer life in Jesus, a more abundant life, as Jesus himself said. And today, I'm really excited for the life change story that we have, a dear friend of mine. But before we do that, hey, if you've been listening to this and you're getting something out of this, you're finding some hope, and maybe it's encouraging you along in your walk with Jesus, hey, would you mind just sharing this? Would you mind maybe giving us a 5-star rating? It helps to get the word out in this. And I know one of the things that I've thought as I've gotten into recovery is, man, how can I help spread this message to others so that they can find the healing that I've found? And, you know, hitting that share button is one really small way to help do that. And so we're really excited for this conversation today. Let me introduce myself. I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with anxiety and depression, sexual addiction, and grief. And my name is Andy.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, and I get the great privilege of being able to serve as the ministry leader for Celebrate Recovery at Fellowship Fayetteville. And today I've got a good friend of mine, and it's actually kind of fun. This is the guy that's typically behind the camera.
Yeah, we are running low on subjects if we're bringing the camera guy in for a podcast.
Not even kinda, my friend. Well, hey, brother, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with anger issues, perfectionism, and the effects of pornography, and my name is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, I'm super glad to have you actually on today. You've been behind the camera as we've been filming these and putting these on YouTube, and super grateful for you. And man, I guess we've known each other now as long as I've been at Fellowship, so about 11 years now. And we've had a lot of fun together, playing music, doing videos like this, going to Nashville for conferences and stuff.
Summit, yeah.
And man, there's been a lot of cool things that have happened, but I think honestly the coolest thing that has happened in our lives is the way that God has used this incredible ministry to point us closer towards Jesus. And I know that's been the case for you too.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And so let's go ahead and just jump into your story, Kyle.
Yeah.
So, dude, let me ask you this. What brought you into Celebrate Recovery? What was the maybe give us the thing that's the moment where you were like, all right, I need to do this, but also bring us into a little bit of the backstory of, man, how did you get to that space?
Yeah. So I jumped on staff at Fellowship back in 2009, and I'm a drummer, which is awesome. But I came on staff to be a producer, doing video content, and was able to connect with David Atterbury. And I was getting to play drums in singles ministry at the time, and David started having me play pretty often. I wouldn't say every week, but pretty often on Friday nights. And so that started just kind of being involved in the ministry, and then we would just produce a ton of video content. So I'm hearing just stories of life change, and specifically as my role here, like story is super important.
Yeah.
I've always told people man, if your story is shared, it's going to, even if it impacts one person, that matters. Don't be afraid to share your story. But I was unwilling to share my story. Now, that's not necessarily a Celebrate Recovery piece, but that's just, just my history of some serious eye issues, and just wanted to keep those hidden, thinking it would be safer that way. And so anyways, jumped into CR and just have always been a part of it. Always heard stories, filmed people's stories, been a part of those videos we would get to do for Summit, that they would, so just been around the ministry. And I can't remember what year it was, but Mickey, our directional leader, just challenged us, like, every staff member should go through a step study. So I was hearing, I would produce videos about step studies. So I knew about the ministry. I knew I probably could share about the ministry to anybody who asked, but I hadn't fully jumped into it. And so I know there's a lot of hurt and past just issues that I've brought just from those feelings of inadequacy and other things from my eye issues, and just the lack of confidence and looking for things to probably make me feel better, looking for those things to cope with. And so I was like, okay, I'll jump into this. I'll jump into step study. Thankfully, there was a staff member here who was leading it, so I felt a little bit of like comfort in that. Like, okay, I'm not going to jump in. And just that was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was right when COVID was starting. Okay. And so we had to kind of navigate through, like, okay, what are we going to do? That sort of thing. And so, and so that's just kind of how I jumped into that, but I've been a part of the ministry. So it just felt like I was going through CR, even though I didn't actually go through the steps, if that makes sense.
Well, what's so funny, Kyle, is like, I didn't realize it was that recent in there. And, because, like I said, we've known each other for a long time. Right. We've done a lot of funny video content and stuff together. And so, I love that dynamic of like, I'm around this and I'm kind of taking it in kind of by proxy, almost by osmosis. I'm just going to hang out with the people that are in it. Right. But I don't know if I'm fully ready to jump into this. Yeah. What do you think was the fear that kept you from leaning into the process fully until about 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, I don't want to say that it was like I didn't feel like I needed it. Yeah. But there was maybe I don't need this. I'm hearing it. Just like I say this all the time to my kids, like, I struggle sometimes to just jump into the word on a daily basis because I'm surrounded by it on a daily basis by what I'm filming. And so it was almost probably that. It's like, well, I'm getting it. I'm hearing it. I'm filming the training videos. I'm in meetings constantly hearing about it. It was just kind of this, I'm in it sort of thing. Yeah. It wasn't this like, I'm hesitant. I'm afraid to go there. I actually, probably felt like it was probably a need. I think everybody needs to go through that kind of a process to kind of understand, like, especially when we're in ministry, even though I'm on the video side, but I think we still minister to people, especially when they're sharing their story. If you can't go where your heart is hurting, it's probably going to prevent you in really being fully invested into ministering to other people, because you've almost got that, I don't want to say hidden hurt, but just you're not able to fully release that. Yeah. And so I think it was, I didn't feel like I needed to, but then there was that point where it's like, okay, hey, they're asking us to do it, and I have no reason why I shouldn't. I didn't think there was anything in my story that would go, this disqualifies you. I was actually more worried about, revealing my eye issues. Yeah. That would be what would disqualify me from my job.
So do you mind bringing us into that, man?
I am a storyteller, so we have a time limit, so I will be as fast as I can and jump through probably details. But yes.
Well, and I want to lean into this because, like, what I'm hearing you say is, like, I've heard about this Celebrate Recovery thing, and I love that people are honest about the flaws that they have. I think, I'm working at a church. I'm a professional Christian in some way. Like, I feel like there's nothing blowing up in my life, right? But I'm not going to let people into this.
Right. Yeah. That's what it was. So going real fast, when I was 5, living in SoCal, ended up having some eye issues. My mom ran me to a doctor. They said, it's just pink eye. It'll clear up in a couple weeks. Turns out it was a fully detached retina, and I went blind in my left eye at age 5. And what that meant was it's not going to grow. My bone structure wouldn't grow unless I wore a prosthetic. So I've had a prosthetic in my left eye since I was 5. I'm about to be 39. So quite a long span of life. That side of things, it's always irritated me, always bothered me, just was a struggle.
Yeah.
We moved here to Northwest Arkansas. My dad got a job at Walmart, and we were in the backyard. This was 1995, and I kept missing a ball playing catch with my brother. They brought me to Bozeman Hoff, and lo and behold, they find another detached retina.
Oh, man.
So I had to have, I always get this wrong. I don't know if it's FDA approved, but basically the surgery that they were going to do had not been fully, like, that's what they're doing. So kind of rushed me down to Little Rock, had that surgery. And so basically, from that point on, life for me, I wanted to be in sports. I wanted to, do that kind of thing. Couldn't play.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, that's why I want to go into sports broadcasting. Thankfully, the Lord brought music in my life. So that was just something that, man, I know he had his hand there.
Yeah.
And throughout that process, I mean, we initially would tell people my story, but and this is where obviously the hurt comes in, the poking fun at, the, think of all the words that you could be called when it comes to that. And so finally decided, like, I'm not going to tell people. So we moved to Siloam in 2001, and I just didn't tell people, which didn't help things, because then it was like, you pansy, you pansy, why don't you play sports? You weak. I'm like, no, actually, I just would have to dance around that. So that's where I started hiding, thinking, if I hide, people won't look at me differently. People won't,
it'll keep me safe.
Yeah. And so it obviously didn't, but I still, I would let a few people in, like one or two buddies of mine. But really it was just, not very many people knew. And so, that's where I knew God protected me, in that space, because I was center snare for 2 years on drumline, and you have to be in line with everybody else, or you get docked. I don't know if it's a point scale or whatever. That was such a long time ago, but I have no peripheral in my right eye. I obviously can't see anything on my left, and if your plume moves, you're just like you get points. So I'm like having to look to make sure I'm in line. And somehow or another, by the grace of God, maybe there was an angel holding my plume still. But no one knew in band. When I went to the U of A to go into sports broadcasting, no one knew there. I had a hard time sometimes reading the prompter because the words were just so small, but I would be able to fake my way through it. And that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be just a, either announcer or broadcaster for sports. So anyways, all that to say, that's where that kind of, story came in, where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to hide this.
Yeah.
Don't want people to think I'm not capable of doing this.
Yeah.
And then long story short, the Lord, I know he finally was like, you know what? You've been telling everybody since you've been on staff since 2009. This happened in 2016. He goes, I feel like he was like, it's time. And so I was just driving to work, had this horrific pain in my left eye, whether I had my prosthesis in or not.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was always irritated by it, but this was a whole different thing. And I do remember like punching the steering wheel, driving to work, going like, this hurts. And asking the question, why? Haven't I already gone through enough? And that was the one thing I would say is, like, when we're going through stuff, like, I never questioned, is he real? I just questioned why. And I think that's okay. I think you can question why, and I still won't know the answer probably. But long story short, I actually had to have a full enucleation, which is they remove what's, the globe that was still in there, the eyeball, and then they put in an implant. And so that was supposed to fix all my sensitivity. It actually wasn't. Thankfully, a doctor that goes to fellowship, one of the doctors I see for my eye, he determined I was actually allergic to the material of the prosthetic.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, it was like 25 years.
And you were allergic.
I'm allergic to the material, the thing I have to wear. So anyways, we've found some remedies for that. And so all that to say, in the midst of this, I had to tell 4 or 5 people that I trusted at fellowship, because I was going to have to wear a patch for 6 months. And I was like, I can't hide this anymore. And that's where I go. I feel like God was like, you can't hide behind this anymore. You tell people that their story matters. That, the ocularist is like, no, it was, you lost weight and it made your eye shrink. And then the doctor's like, your body was finally like, I'm done with the eye. It's like a splinter. We want to get rid of it. I'm on the fence of like, what I think the Lord was saying? You can't hide. You can't hide anymore.
What's so cool here in that, Kyle, is one, I love that idea. You're a video guy here at our church. and you lost an eye when
Yeah.
you were a kid.
Yeah.
Your good eye was damaged when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And you're the guy that does visual. You tell stories through a visual medium.
Yeah.
And so like that idea of this is my job, this is where I'm at, and this is my secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the grace of God to say, you know what? We're not hiding this anymore.
Yeah.
And what's cool is the way that he allowed you. I feel like God is he is tenacious with our secrets, but he's gentle in pushing us there.
Mm-hmm.
And so back 2016, 4 years before you jump into a step study,
Right.
he's going, all right, I'm going to make you tell at least some people
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We're going to toe the water
Yes.
into
Yes.
vulnerability and
Yeah.
healing.
And Chip Jackson was instrumental in that, because I remember sitting in my office telling him this, that I have to have this surgery. And he goes, and this is what it bothered me first. He goes, man, Cleve, that's amazing that through your disability, you're able to, and I don't even remember what he said after that, because I heard the word disability. I'm like, I don't know, what are you talking about, Chip? But because of Chip, he brought me into what's called a foxhole.
Yeah.
And initially he brought me in to tell the story, to film it and share what's going on. But then as he's driving me from the airport to where we're staying, he goes, Cleve, I hope you know that this is more than just you filming. I'm in the backseat going, what? And so anyways, that was where I told my story.
That's how Chip normally
for the
works.
first, yeah, exactly. For the first time, that was where I told my story.
Yeah.
In a group of other pastors, other ministers that were there. And that I've learned so much through that led me into going to the step study, because I came away with my inability and unwillingness to share my story was not allowing the power of God being displayed.
Ooh.
Which you just said that. You said,
Dude.
you have visually some significant visual issues, and yet you are, and that's what Chip said. He's like, it's amazing that the two eyes of people at Fellowship are seeing it through the vision of one.
Ooh.
So all that to say, that's, there was so much of that. Okay, I've got to be willing to tell my story. Okay, yeah, let's jump into a step study.
Yeah.
And I think that when we transition to more on that, that's where I feel like I learned a lot of how to probably process why I was doing the things I was doing in life, from the hurt and all that kind of stuff. So that's the story I was hiding. So
man, I love that. That gives me a lot of understanding to what you were carrying, what the stakes were, jumping into that step study.
Yeah.
You'd learn to be a little vulnerable with it. And it's funny, with a little bit of healing, how quickly we get content with that. But God is so gracious and so faithful. He doesn't want us to get just a taste.
Yeah.
He wants us to experience the abundance of it.
Yeah.
And so let's go to a break, and when we come back, let's talk about what CR did for you, man.
Hey, Forever family. Being in a community of fellow strugglers who are committed to working their recoveries is essential to our success in having victory over our hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Every Friday night, we have a Celebrate Recovery meeting at Fellowship Fayetteville and Fellowship Rogers. At 6 p.m., we have a great meal for connection with other recovery brothers and sisters. Then we meet for large group at 7 p.m., followed by an open share group at 8. Same schedule on both campuses. Different teachers, different worship teams, but the same great experience. We'd love for you to join us this Friday night. It's never too late to start or start over again. For more information, go to fellowshipcr.org.
Well, hey, we are back with my good friend Kyle here. And brother, before the break, you were just bringing us into, man, you've been on staff at a church at this point, 11, 12 years, and you've been around Celebrate Recovery. You play in the band at Celebrate Recovery. You help us film videos in there. You've gone to conferences with us. And, I'm a part of this, but yet there was this big part of you that you were afraid to really fully step into. And you brought us into that story, your struggles with your eyes and your vision, being a video guy at church. And then it came to the point where it's like, okay, it feels like God is asking me to take the next step in healing, man. And so you jumped into a step study right before COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm racking my brain. I felt like it was, I know we were having to wear masks at times. So it was either we were wrapping up near COVID or we were starting. It was around that. So it was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Got it. Okay. And so, man, you had experienced a little bit of healing as you brought some select people into what was going on, but largely it was something that, and I found out about it probably about that time ago, probably after COVID, man. And I'd known you for years, man.
Yeah.
And so, man, jumping into a step study, you'd found some healing and found some vulnerability. What did you find that you didn't realize you needed?
I think it was specifically, I know this is further in the process, but going through the inventory, like I had Christ, I accepted him as my Savior when I was 5.
Yeah.
So the parts of understanding the forgiveness and, that it wasn't that I needed to hear that. It was important, but I already trusted and believed that. It was more so when you got to the nitty gritty of like, hey, your hurts lead to habits and hangups.
Yeah.
And so let's go back to those hurts. Let's do this inventory and figure out, hey, how can you move past these, whether it's for the benefit of you or you need to reach out to somebody else. And so for me, it was just being able to understand like, okay, these were the things that I was probably looking to cope with myself, feeling like I'm inadequate, and then being able to kind of release that, let that go. And so I would say specifically, knowing I get angry pretty easily. I have a short fuse. That is probably in regards to just, I don't have control. So I get angry about it. And so I don't think punching the steering wheel out of anger, driving to work, and the pain was necessarily a bad response, but I know I'm pretty quick to get defensive, pretty quick to get angry.
Yeah. Because what you just described there, I think it's definitely something that I wrestled with getting into Celebrate Recovery, being on staff at a church. Like I know Jesus, I've known Jesus for a long time, but there was this thing that I had in me where it's like, I don't really need to go and look at my hurts. It was this idea that my past isn't really affecting me. And you talk about the inventory where we examine our past.
Yeah.
And what was probably one of the most potent or surprising entries that you found in your inventory?
It was interesting to I would say, kind of think back to the people that would have said those hurtful things.
Yeah.
When they, we always say like, oh, when people are rude, they feel unhappy with themselves. But trying to shove those things away, they still probably do eat at you and you don't even realize that you've stuffed them.
Yeah.
But then you hear that stuff enough, it makes you think, okay, I must be, I must not look that attractive. That's why I'm not dating anybody. So all that's where I would go is like when I was thinking about the things that had been said to me that I tried to shove away, I think those helped me understand, okay, that's how I cope this way. That's why I probably get angry, is because I couldn't get angry then, and so I bottled all that stuff up. That makes a ton of sense, man, because what it reminds me of is that old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah, yeah.
And I tell you, I think what you discovered is what I discovered in my inventory is that that's not necessarily true at all. In fact, the words that I hear actually really stick with me.
Yeah.
And not only do they stick with me, they start to sow these ideas and these beliefs in my heart that if I hear the same thing over and over again, it must be true.
Right.
I fear it's true.
Yeah.
And so what were maybe some of those key lies that you had picked up based off of the things that have been told to you?
Yeah, well, and obviously, thankfully, I'm married and have 2 kids, so this didn't end up happening. But so many of them were like, "Oh, you're never gonna get married. You don't look good enough for marriage." So it's stuff like that. So where I'm gonna go with that is the lie I believed was, okay, well, if that's not gonna happen, no one wants to date me. I can look at pornography, and at least I'm not going around sleeping with other people.
Man, it's amazing the way that we justify.
Yeah, and
that
you're like
in our hurt too.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I go. I probably was using that as a coping mechanism to make myself feel better because of, not that I wasn't attracted to people, but it never was reciprocated.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the enemy being able to use that lie where in my vulnerable space. So that was one of the lies. I have found myself that because I was told that my eyes never looked the same, mainly because the prosthetic never fit properly, I have a really hard time looking people in the face and being confident, like I can look at them and not be worried, like, whoa, okay, where are my eyes going?
Yeah.
And so I have this, I would say probably, I don't know if it's a lack of confidence, but man, eye contact is huge. I know that in communication. And a lot of times I'm looking down because I'm afraid what's happening up here because I have no idea. So
well, it's amazing. One of the most vulnerable things that we can do is just look somebody directly in the eyes. And it's actually one of the things that God has designed us, just hardwired into us, is that when we can see our pain in somebody else's eyes, when we can hear our emotion in somebody else's voice responding to us, there's a lot of healing that happens in that.
Yeah.
And there was so many lies that kept you from even engaging in that part of vulnerability.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, I'm selectively sharing my story, but still, and in that space, obviously, step study, CR, it's a safe space. So I was able to be pretty vulnerable, and the guys in the room were vulnerable. I mean, that's the other thing I found through this is just like everybody has these different hurts, but it really feels like we're connected in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you might be dealing with some of this, it might be drugs, it might be, what doesn't matter. Like, we're all kind of dealing and feeling with the same thing. And so this was connection with these guys. And so,
that's huge there.
Yeah.
That idea that, man, we all got different things that we're bringing into this place. But the lie that I know that I believed in, that I've heard you articulate in this conversation is, I'm alone.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, nobody understands, and if they did, there ain't no way they'd accept me in it.
Well, how bad is it to think I'm more safe being alone? Like, that's the other thing I've learned is, like, I felt better thinking that if no one knew, if I was isolated. Now, granted, I've told my wife, like, there were people I was telling, but
but still,
the world didn't know.
Yeah.
It felt better to almost be isolated and safer there, and we know that's not true, than willing to let people go. And you know what? I don't know why I didn't think this, but let's just say I told my story and I lost my job. I mean, let's just say that's what happened. I mean, obviously, thankfully it didn't, but I felt more safe being isolated and holding tight to that than being willing to let God do what he was going to do. And now in hindsight, it's kind of like, man, all those years of holding it tight, man, I probably could have felt some more freedom. And now, I mean, we joke about it now on campus. That's what's funny is, like, the people that know we're goofing around about it. And I mean, I use humor a lot for that.
Yeah.
And people have always told me, like, man, you always lighten the mood when things are getting really heavy. Sometimes I might go too far on that, but that's not the right time for that.
There's probably some fun family dynamics in that.
Oh yeah, Heather hates it, man. My wife, man, she did not grow up in a family where you joke constantly, and we're just yeah. It sometimes goes too far with the three of us.
But what's cool, man, is like that idea of I am safer alone. And then you get into Celebrate Recovery, and it's we hear this thing that we say all the time: I'm only as sick as my secrets. And what have you found? What fruit has been found now that the secret's out?
I mean, I would say probably my leadership has grown, like my leadership ability, and probably understanding how to lead others well through a space like this. I mean, granted, I was saying, like, your story matters even if one person hears it, but I think now the fruit is, like, I probably really believe that more than I did before because I wasn't saying it about myself. So it's like, man, if I'm not believing it about myself, do I really believe telling people that?
Yeah.
So I think the fruit of that is my leadership has probably grown. I think the other thing is just knowing that the hurts that I had that led to those habits and hang-ups, I'm able to, specifically like with my son, sitting down, and we do devotionals once a week. My daughter and I and son, we alternate. But, they're getting into a world where things that you and I maybe had to search a little bit more for, it's being literally handed to them.
Yeah.
And so just being open and vulnerable. Granted, he's only 11, so we're being very cautious. I'm being very cautious of how deep I go, but just being like, hey, there's going to be some temptations and things that you're probably going to run across. Be willing to come talk to me because Dad's been there. And so I would say the fruit is, like, I'm willing, whether it be the CR side of things or my physical issue side of things, like, I'm just willing to go there with people, if that makes sense, which I think that's where, if you're able to go there, it lets people understand who you are more, and you can probably be more, you have deeper relationships and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot in what you just said, man. And a couple things I'm kind of picking out from that is, one, there's a confidence in you that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
What I'm also hearing is that there's an integrity that you're having. You know, I've heard somebody say we can try and lead somebody where we haven't been, but we can't do it for long.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we're willing, and then there's a willingness aspect.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm willing to let God into those places, I see and experience that much more of the grace of God in there. And so on the other side of this, it seems like just even sitting here with you talking through it, I see a guy that has more confidence, that's able to walk with integrity, that knows the grace of Jesus a little bit more, that's more confident as a father and a husband. And like there's not that fear.
Yeah, the fear of being found out, I think, was probably huge for me. And so now that you don't have that fear, I mean, it is like a weight is sort of lifted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so
there's freedom to enjoy life.
Yeah.
You know, I never realized how much energy hiding my secrets took until I didn't have secrets like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I was wasting a lot of energy and I was losing out on a lot of the life that God intends for me to enjoy.
But I think for me, the biggest thing is like, how can I learn? And I mean, produce and release, that's Fellowship's motto.
Yeah.
I'm producing and releasing my kids through coworkers, you know, that sort of thing, interns. And everything I'm trying to do with others, it's like, how can I grow and learn from my mistakes, my past, and help others not go down that same road if possible. So having conversations with my kids, that sort of thing, helping others who maybe have a story, don't hide behind it. Yeah. You have no idea how God will use it. It took me a really long time to get there, but who knows what the fruit will be. And that's not from you don't want to be like self-serving type thing, but it's like I'm sure somebody will hear my story at some point and go, man, I've been hiding my prosthetic leg and I didn't want people to know. Just something. There might be some kind of connection in it, but if I wasn't willing to go there, then who knows if God would have been able to use that. And so,
I heard somebody say once that our greatest platform for God to use us in the life of others is actually not going to be our strengths. It's going to be our weaknesses. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the very things that we want hidden, the very things I've seen in my life that I thought to myself, I'm going to take that to my grave, have been the things that God has used and redeemed to help me encourage somebody else in ways I never thought I would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I see that in you too, and we've seen that in so many spaces in Celebrate Recovery. And so I know if you're listening to this right now and you're kind of in the beginning of your journey, maybe you're at that point where you're like, man, I feel like the weight of holding this secret is really, really heavy. Just know that it's hard to bring those things out into the light. But we are able to run this race so much more freely and joyfully when we're willing to lay that weight down. It's not just that God saves us from the weight of our secrets or the weight of our sin or the burden of carrying these habits. He saves us to something greater. It's a life of freedom. It's a life of hope. It's a life of confidence and integrity. And it's a life of really knowing and walking with Him. And so, Kyle, man, this has been such a great conversation. And I wish we had, several more hours to unpack a lot there, man, because, brother, I love your story. I love your heart, man. But I want to give you the last word, man. If there's somebody here listening to this and maybe they're in that space of, I don't know if I want people to know this, what would you tell them, man?
Yeah. Well, your story is probably going to be unique to you, but you're going to probably find, if you're willing to go there, that you're not that different from anybody else. And so let that kind of sink in and go, okay, I can feel safe. I can be vulnerable because everybody's going through something, and everybody just wants to be able to feel some freedom in that. And so, and if you're like me, where it was, I don't know the Lord, I don't need this, I'm okay. Man, I would challenge you. You will find you'll see some significant fruit, and just be able to go deeper with who you are. And maybe you don't know the Lord. This could be that step to kind of figuring out how to find Him and get freedom. Ultimately, He is what's gonna, a 12-step program isn't gonna save you. He's gonna save you. And so this might be a really good way to jump in and start to get some healing in your life and be able to find the Lord. And so, man, just do it. It's going to feel scary probably. I mean, telling your story, like me sitting, 5, 7, 10 years ago, I would have never done this. Are you kidding me? I'd have been like, I would have been like, yeah, I have some eye issues and I couldn't do this. But no, now it's like, man, you are going to be able to know so much more about yourself and be able to just grow deeper. Your walk. So I would say, just do it. It will be scary, but I promise everybody else in that room, in a step study, or just even coming to CR, you are going to find a safe place. Yeah. And I mean, that's what I love about playing drums, is looking out and just seeing the worship that takes place.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in a cage and I feel separated from everybody, free the drummers. Just seeing the vulnerability and just the worship. Yeah. You will find a safe place. So just jump into CR.
Man, I love it. Kyle, thank you so much for your heart. Thank you for your story, man. And thanks for jumping in on this episode, man. Well, hey, if you're listening to this right now, I want to encourage you with something that it says in the New Testament, in 2 Corinthians. It says, His grace is made perfect in our weaknesses. See, could it be the case that the very places that I don't want other people to see is the spot where God wants to love us the most, to change us the most, and to bring us more healing than we ever thought possible? And if you're looking for a safe place to lean into that healing, to experience the grace that Jesus gives us in the midst of our struggles, we'd love to see you any Friday night at 7 o'clock at Fellowship Rogers or Fellowship Fayetteville. You don't have to stay in hiding anymore. You don't have to be on your own anymore. There's a group of people that understand, that care, and love you. And we would love, love, love the opportunity to walk alongside you and in your story.